All right, so here we go. This one's all about factoring. There is an important thing here that says remember to factor out the GCF first. What does that mean? Okay, so I need to look and see what do they have in common before I do any other of the kinds of factoring. So if I look at number 1, what do 6 and 3 have in common? In other words, what are they both divisible by? Okay, and x to the fourth, they both have an x to the fourth, so I think I can take out an x to the fourth. Can I take out a y? No. So then I have to think backwards. 3x to the fourth times what would give me 6x to the fourth y? 2 and y. And then 3x to the fourth times what gives me 3x to the fourth? 1. Now, a lot of people think it'd be plus 0 because they're like, you don't multiply it by anything. Well, if you multiply by 0, that would make it 0, right? So it does have to be times 1 there. Now, I know I can't go any further because this isn't a y squared and because there's nothing more in common. Capiche? All right. Looking at number 2. Do they have anything in common? Yep. Do they have anything in common? Doesn't look like it. So this is a classic snowflake problem. I know. So what goes on the top of the snowflake? It is A times C. Well, A is 1. C is 42. 1 times 42 is 42. What goes on the bottom?
13.
B, which is 13. Now I need to look for two numbers that multiply to get 42 and add to get 13. 7 and 6. Does it matter if you write 7 and 6 or 6 and 7?
No.
Doesn't matter what order you write them in. Okay? What goes up here then? X and X, and if there was an A value that wasn't 1, I would have to put that up there as well. Okay? So, can X over 7 reduce?
No.
So I have X and plus 7. Can X over 6 reduce?
No.
So I have X plus 6. Can I check my answer if I wanted to?
Maybe, yes.
How would I do that? Multiply it out, and I should get that, if I did it correctly. Easy peasy?
Lemon squeeze.
Okay. Number 3. What do they have in common? So if I take out a 3, what's left inside? N squared plus n minus,
6.
okay? Now this part looks like a snowflake. Yeah?
Yes.
So if I snowflake that, what goes on top? And on the bottom? Two numbers that multiply to get negative 6 and add to get 1. 3 and 2, but the 2 has to be negative, right? Will it work if I make the 3 negative instead?
No.
No, why not?
Because it'd be negative.
Because that would add to negative 1, not to positive 1. All right? N and n, if there was an A value, I would put that there, but I took out the A value. Can n over 3 reduce? Nope. Can n over negative 2 reduce? So I have the 3 that I took out in the first step, and then I have n plus 3 and n minus 2. Not too bad? Is number 4 snowflake?
Yes.
There's a couple reasons why it's not snowflake. Does anyone have a reason why it's not snowflake?
Because the 3?
Because it's what we would call a cubic. It has a third degree. Any other reasons why I know it's not snowflake? There's 4 terms. There's not just A, B, and C. There's A, B, and C, and then something else. Or A, B, C, and D. So, this is what we like to call grouping. So, first thing I do is I still check to see, is there anything that all four terms have in common? Is there? No. So if there's nothing I can have all four terms in common, I cut it in half. Does that sound familiar? And then I look at the first two terms and say, what do those two have in common? Well, I could take out not just a v, but what? V squared. And what would be left inside? 7v plus 5. Yes? Okay. The next sign I bring down. And then I look at these two terms. What do they have in common? How about a 5? And if I took out a 5, now keep in mind it's really taking out a negative 5 because I have to take out whatever that sign is. Negative 5 times what gives me negative 35v? Positive 7v. And negative 5 times what gives me negative 25? Positive 5. Now if I did my grouping correctly, what should be the case with those two parentheses? They should be the same. So, in my answer still has two parentheses just like these guys. One of my parentheses is this 7v plus 5. Only one of them. What's my other parentheses? V squared minus 5. Okay, and again, that's called grouping. I bet if you searched that on YouTube, you would find a ton of videos that teachers have made if you looked up factoring by grouping. Okay, so? Good answer. All right, number 5. Do they have anything in common? What do they have in common? And then what would be left inside? X squared minus 9. Now this we have a shortcut for, because this is what we call a difference of squares. Now if I don't remember the shortcut, can I snowflake this? Sure can. A times C would be 1 times negative 9, which is negative 9. What's my B value? There is no B value, so what does that mean? It's 0. So what are my two numbers that would multiply to get negative 9 and add to get 0? 3 and negative 3. So again, the shortcut is you would take the square root of x, put that at the front, take the square root of 9, which is 3, make one a plus and one a minus, and that does match up with what I get from my snowflake. So you can do it either way. Shortcut for difference of squares or snowflake. So?
Yes.
Okay. Number 6. Do they have anything in common? Nope. So let's snowflake. What goes on the top? On the bottom? Two numbers that multiply to get 25 and add to get 10. 5 and 5. Got your V there and your V there. What do you notice about these two parentheses? They are the same, which means I can write my answer like V minus 5, V minus 5, or if I want to look smarter, I can write it V minus 5 squared. Sorry, that is supposed to be a plus. Thank you for catching that.
Oh, I thought I was wrong.
Why is it a plus and not a minus? Because those are positive 5s, not negative 5s. All right, number 7. Do they have something in common? Anything? Nope. So I just go to my snowflake. All right, what goes on the top of my snowflake? Nope.
Negative 60?
4 times negative 15, which is negative 60. And then on the bottom goes 7. So I need two numbers that multiply to get 60. Look at you. 5 and 12. Which one has to be negative? 5 has to be negative because if you made the 12 negative, that would get you negative 7, not positive 7. Now, this one's a little different since there's an a value that's not 1. I have to split up my a squared and give a to both sides, but I have to put the 4 with both sides. Can 4a over negative 5 reduce? So one of my parentheses is 4a minus 5. Can 4a over 12 reduce? What does it reduce to? A over 3. That's the parentheses then. A plus 3. So? Gesundheit. All right, number 8. Do they have anything in common? Nope. All right, snowflake. What goes on the top?
Negative 20.
Negative 20. And what goes on the bottom? Negative 19. I need two numbers that multiply to get negative 20 and add to get negative 19.
Negative 21.
Negative 20 and positive 1. What goes on the top?
4x.
4x and 4x. Can 4x over negative 20 reduce? Becomes x over negative 5. So that will be the parentheses x minus 5. Can 4x over 1 reduce? Yes? No? Nope. So I have 4x plus 1. Okay? So? What makes the last 4 problems different? You have to solve it. What does that mean? It means that after you factor it, which if you notice number 9, they already factored it for us, you have to take each parentheses. Oh, by the way, do you notice that each of these problems down here has an equals 0? None of these had an equal sign in them. Yeah? What if it didn't equal 0? What if it equaled 5? You'd move the 5 so it equaled 0, right? So this is where we take each of our parentheses, so like 7r plus 2, and you set it equal to 0. 8r minus 7 equals 0, and I just have to solve those two little things. So I'm going to subtract 2. So 7r equals negative 2. Divide by 7. And my first answer is r equals negative 2/7. My second answer, I would add 7. That leaves me with 8r equals 7. Divide by 8. And my next answer is r equals 7/8. So this is where you go all the way down to get your two answers. So after you factor, you have to go that extra step. So? All right, so let's look at number 10. Number 10 is not factored for us. So the first question I ask is there anything that all the terms have in common? Nope. So I need a snowflake. So if I snowflake this, 1 times 24 is 24, and 11 on the bottom. I need two numbers that multiply to get 24 and add to get 11. 8 and 3. So I have p plus 8 and p plus 3, and this problem has the equal 0. So if I set p plus 8 equal to 0, what do I get? I would subtract 8. I get p equals negative 8 as one of my two answers. Yeah? If I set p plus 3 equal to 0, I subtract 3, and I get p equals negative 3 as my other answer. By the way, does that remind you of maybe one of the quadratic forms we learned yesterday?
Maybe.
Like maybe intercept form?
Yeah.
And from that, you got your 2x intercepts?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. So solving by factoring is actually finding your x-intercepts. And sometimes they're not pretty. Interesting. All right, number 11. Anything in common that I can take out? Nope. Okay, so let's snowflake. My pen is very sad today. It is not doing well. Negative 66 on the top and negative 5. Two numbers? 11 and 5 with which one negative? I'm sorry, 11 and 6. Right? Which one has to be negative? 11 has to be negative. So I have v minus 11 and v plus 6 equals 0. What do I get as my answer from v minus 11? V equals what? 11. Again, same way you got your intercepts before. And what do I get from v plus 6? V equals negative 6. If I don't remember that whole just switch the sign thing, I can set it equal to 0 and subtract from both sides or add to both sides to get it that way also. And the last one, number 12. Do they have anything in common? 5. So if I take out a 5, that leaves me with m squared minus 4m minus 96. Now, question really quick. Is there going to be an answer with that 5? No. When is there an answer outside? If there was a variable there. If I were to take 5 and set it equal to 0 like I did with all the rest of them, there's nothing to solve for, and I have a statement that's not true. 5 does not equal 0, right? So the 5 actually ends up just dropping out of the problem. Okay? So if I look here and I snowflake this, I have negative 96 and negative 4. So what would my two numbers be that multiply to get negative 96 and add to get negative 4? 96 divided by 2, 2 and 48, no. Divided by 3, 3 and 32, no. 4 and 24, no. 6 and 16, no, but we're getting closer. 7, not a nice number. 8 and 12, I think that's it. Negative on the 12. M and M. Ooh, those sound good, don't they? So I have M plus 8 and M minus 12 equals 0. So what do I get from M plus 8? I get M equals negative 8. And from M minus 12, I get M equals 12. Easy peasy?
Why am I getting this now?
Well, it's about time. Happy studying.